All right, Jared, it's all yours.
All right. Thank you, Jackie. Welcome, everybody, to MVP Office Hours. My name is Jared Kingston. I am a Solution Architect Manager with Aperio and Salesforce MVP, joined today by Jackie Travieso. Jackie, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Jackie Travieso out of the Carolinas. I'm an independent consultant and also an MVP. Glad to have you all on the call today.
Awesome. Thank you. And I guess I should mention I'm out of Kansas City. Dale Ziegler is also out of Kansas City with me, who helps us with the call. Unfortunately, not able to make it today. But we move on. So one of the things we like to do with MVP Office Hours at the very beginning is just highlight a lot of the events coming up, and so that you get them on your calendar. These are really impactful events. So Salesforce has various events going on with some world tours, etc. Dreamforce, believe it or not, is just like a few months away, which is crazy to think about. Then we have a ton of dreaming events coming up that you don't want to miss. Today, actually, Down Under Dreaming, I guess it was tomorrow that it happened. Down Under Dreaming time zones, right? But a bunch of other ones coming up here. Texas Dreaming, I'm hoping to be at. Midwest Dreaming, same thing. There's a lot coming up, so definitely check those out if you're close by or can get out there. Highly recommend attending those events. All right, so now just for kind of some ground rules, Jackie, if you go to the next slide there, and just kind of information. If this is your first time, we hold this the first and third Friday of every month. So our next call will be on the 18th. We've tried to make it easy for you from a registration standpoint. There's a bit.ly link there that never changes. Bookmark that. After each session, we open up the next session to register for, and you can go out to that link and register. We also have a global site as well, which is just mvpofficehours.info. You can go out there and subscribe to our emails, and those come out with the registration links as well. So if you want to just be prompted in that way, we can do that. But the call in general, it's an open Q&A discussion all around, approach to things, the pointers on things. So no question is too big or too small. And we'll do our best to help or point you in the right direction. So we record this and we post it out to community as well as our Twitter handle at MVP Office Hours. So because of all this, right, we just ask you to mute your lines unless you're, answering a question or asking a question. If you want to ask a question, just raise your hand, or if we've got a open moment, we will ask for you to speak up and just announce yourself, just so we can kind of, put a voice with the name a little bit easier. And then, we have several MVPs on the call, but just because you're maybe not an MVP doesn't mean your experience isn't welcome. If you've experienced something, definitely share it. We're here to help everybody. And, if you have any resources you want to post, use the chat. We're going to compile all those and we share them out afterwards. And if it gets, into a deep thing, we'll pass you the screen sharing and we can dive into it. We've been known to do that. So, with that being said, unless you have anything else, Jackie, we can go ahead and kick this thing off.
Nope, that covers it. We're ready to take our first question.
All right.
Looks like Brian.
Go for it.
Oh.
Brian, I've unmuted you.
Perfect. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. So my name is Brian Haransenboon. I am an incoming analyst into Deloitte Consulting, as well as a current senior in pursuing an undergrad in computer science at California State University, Northridge. Pretty much, long story short, I'm working on an initiative in bringing the Salesforce platform Trailhead material into a classroom curriculum. So I'm working on changing the curriculum for like four, 3 to 4 business classes. And I was wondering if anyone here has experience in like using Salesforce as, I believe the term is like an LMS, uh, like a learning management system. But essentially, using Trailhead material, having students go through the material, eventually grading that and passing it along to whatever, well, at least my school's internal like grading management system, and then eventually throughout the schools like infrastructure, database and stuff. Um, but yeah, because like I never see the education standpoint. Like I know there's the higher ed, uh, the Salesforce higher education, but that's more for the infrastructure of like universities. I'm more interested in the learning aspect of it, um, as well as just because personally, I'm a student that got essentially my job from getting. I mean, a big portion of it was getting my certs, and then eventually accidentally meeting a partner at my firm at a bar randomly. But that was leveraged into an internship and then eventually and eventually a full-time position. And for that, I noticed within the Salesforce ecosystem, although you know Trailhead is very gamified and the Salesforce like marketing side looks really cartoonish and would be very appealing for, I guess, the younger generation. I don't really see a demographic of professionals going into Salesforce on a like a young adult, college, even high school level. I generally see like most consulting firms, even like Aperio or just like even like Salesforce boutique firms, they generally hire experienced hires or that are laterally transferring from some consulting-esque role or a developer-esque role into the Salesforce ecosystem, but generally don't see that younger generation going in. And that's the target that I want to hit. I eventually started my own user group for my school, but really I'm just trying to target students. And theoretically, I'm not even done here at CSUN. I'm also I'm also trying to work with Trailhead for Students, but really I'm just doing my best to bring, I guess, this like the Salesforce world, the Salesforce ecosystem to like students.
So, Brian, that's extremely eager and awesome, all in the same breath. I would connect you with Amanda Bowman out of Salesforce. She is actually running a student pilot program where they are at various universities who sign up. They are basically creating user groups on campus.
Perfect. I mean, actually, I am working with her on that.
Okay, great.
That's more on like the I guess the quote unquote club side. I'm more interested in like, has there ever been a use case for integrating the curriculum into a classroom setting? And then with that comes with logistics like grading and, connecting it within the school's enrollment system so that, they don't have to manually, do these grades or stuff like that.
Yes. There are so many student initiatives that I'm aware of. I don't know, though, that they pull the completed trailheads into one org for grading. There is, My Trailhead, which would allow you to create your customized trailhead, but more from an organization standpoint. I don't know how you would work that so that you could get students from multiple schools, multiple locations. It's not something that you could do with the developer org because you're only allowed 2 licenses. I would go back to Amanda and let her know what it is that you're trying to do, because I'm assuming that groups like Girl Code It, Pep Up Tech, and a couple of the others, if they're not already going down this same path and the same methodology, I bet she could hook you up with those people, and then you guys could have a wider conversation about how one would do this, and then how it could be how it could be replicated among other schools.
Right. As far as like specific logistics goes, currently I am like running a developer org, and I am essentially just allocating chatter-free licenses to the, and since there's like a 5,000, I think, limit,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just more concerned on the fact that theoretically, for a quote unquote student life cycle with Salesforce, when students are admitted into, I guess, the business college or something like that, they are given the chatter-free license, and then they maintain it for like the 4 or 5 or 6 years that they're at school. But at some point, I'll be juggling these licenses because I'll definitely hit maximum. So I'm really more concerned with, I guess, because I don't really work for the state for my school, but my school is a state school. Um, so I'm not entirely sure what the best way to go about this, because of course I can, negotiate with Salesforce to get more licenses. But there is no set best practices for this. So um, I'm just really not sure. Uh, like right now, I have metrics like I'm gonna have 60 students take it this summer, and then 900 students take it in the fall, and then I can assume it's roughly 900 students every fall and spring semesters, and then maybe another 60 in the summer. Stuff like that. Eventually I'll hit some form of like limit, um, and then at that point I'm gonna have to the school's gonna have to resort to, like paying or something. So I don't know if there's like a special partnership that there's a current school that's doing with Salesforce to alleviate those costs. Just because I believe it would, like, in my head, I think it would fall under the same umbrella as like the Salesforce.org side, where instead of it being like a nonprofit, it would just be a school.
Possibly. Yep. And if you're looking in chat, Jen Bowman asked who the audience is, if we're talking about college or adults. And then she provided that link that I just dropped into the resource slide, the Academic Alliance group, which is also tied to the student user groups that I was talking about.
So the audience would be undergraduate students pursuing a business degree. So that's like accounting, marketing, business, to even computer science, information systems, information technology. And that would be like, that would just be the undergrad side of my school.
Okay.
Hi, Brian. This is Jen Bowen.
Hello.
Hi. I would definitely check out that link. I don't know if you're working with the Academic Alliance with Salesforce, but it sounds like exactly what they're kind of doing. They're partnering with college students and colleges to actually you actually become a trailhead educator. And they split it up too between a couple different people that are trailhead educators. Might be something, I don't know if that's the same thing that you were talking about doing, but Jean Velenos, and I can post her Twitter handle, introduced me to it. It's something I've been considering doing. It sounds right up the same alley.
Great. Thank you for that, Jen. That is definitely a place to start for sure. And I will look to see, let me see if I can pop it up on my other screen here. Jean's contact as well, unless you can get to it. Oh, you got it. Great. Here we go. Thank you, Jen. There is her Twitter handle for you.
Will there be a transcript of the chat logs eventually?
I'll post all of these resources in Chatter.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, along with this recording, so you'll have this as well. All right, so hopefully that is helpful and gives you some direction. Melissa says the Power of Us community may help as well. So Power of Us community, that's a good one. All right, anybody else? I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. There may be, Rob, a higher education user group in community. You have to, I think there is. That might be another place you might want to join and pose some of these questions as well. All right. Okay, if we can go on to, how about Marty? Marty, I'm going to unmute you.
Hi, this is Marty. I just have a quick question. I'm trying to use Data Loader IO and I'm getting the following error message. There was a problem detecting the end of line. To avoid data corruption, this file will not be processed. I've tried the same file in Data Loader and it was okay. And I've tried messing around with a couple of columns. Any other thoughts?
Can you repeat the error message?
Sure. Error on line 1. There was a problem detecting the end of line. To avoid data corruption, this file will not be processed. And I've obviously done a search on it and tried adding another column, deleting some columns that could be suspect.
Okay. I was going to say that was the first thing that I always do when I get a file that gets kicked back with some funky error, or it gives me, 1,000 lines and I know that there's 32 lines of data. So what I always do is when I delete all of the empty columns, delete all of them, not just a few, but go ahead and delete all of them, and same with the rows.
Did that, and then I shortened. I only had like 25 lines in it to begin with, and I picked 2, and then I deleted a bunch of columns, and I added a column at the end with some basic data.
And that it gave you the same error?
Yep. It just doesn't like me.
Which object are you trying to load to?
Contacts, pretty basic.
Okay. Yeah. The next thing that I would try if I were running into this problem would be to copy paste just the data, not the entire sheet, but just the actual data into a new spreadsheet and create yourself a new file and see if that clears it out.
Yeah, that was my next move. Just very simple. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, Jared, have you come across that? Do you have any other suggestions besides a new file? I think you might be on mute if you're talking.
Yeah, I haven't. Sorry. I think you're right on the new file. I haven't heard of that error.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. All right, anybody else? Looks like Joshua gave us a link for Grantham Education. I'm going to post this in here so that you have this as well. And we can check that out. All right, who else Chris has got a question. Chris, I'm going to unmute you. You've got the floor.
Hey, thank you. I posted this question maybe 2 weeks ago in the MVP office hours group, and Dale was looking at it, and I apologize, I didn't get a chance to respond back to his comment, but what I'm trying to do is our accounting team, they clone opportunities for our accounting system to invoice because they make changes to the data in that record, like the close date and stuff based off of the billing information. What I'm looking to do is there a process or a way that if I make a change to the original opportunity record, that it would kind of push those updates to all the following cloned records? I didn't know if there's a way that when you look at these records if they're indicated as a cloned record from, and then which record would be the original?
I don't know that there is, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't put some custom field that when it's cloned, it's populated with some identifier that it could then trickle down with you. But you got to have a very solid business process for that.
Yeah, because you're using the standard clone.
Correct.
Yeah.
So essentially, the sales reps create the original opportunity that's marked as 1. And then for any reason, if we need to stop billing or collections on that opportunity, they would like to go ahead and indicate that to the opportunity. That would then alert all the finance team of not to collect on that opportunity or those invoices. So that's the reasoning behind it.
When they clone the opportunity, are they then the new owner of it, or?
Yes.
Hi, this is Pat. Just a thought. Instead of cloning, you might create a new custom object that looks like an opportunity.
Okay.
And that custom object would be a child of opportunity. And you could use formula fields to or lookup fields to the parent, so that when you change something on that original opportunity, it trickles down to the children.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. That's kind of what Dale was asking me. So I guess I have to figure out how to create the new custom object off of the original record, and then the formulas I could figure out. I just need to educate myself on how to do that.
Yeah, you could do that just via like a chatter action if you're using chatter, or just off of a related list. But a chatter action would actually be really nice because you could preset some fields and just preset some fields from the opportunity, as well as, just kind of slim down the barrier to entry, if you will, for creating that record.
Okay. So I should be looking at something that's related to child records, creating child records from.
Yeah, think of it in terms of a child object.
Child.
Okay. So a child object with opportunity as the parent.
Okay.
Because when you create a clone, it's a parallel record with a different owner, and there's no linkage between them.
Correct.
So a child would inherently have that linkage. And by the way, if you ever, but the access, keep in mind for a child object, the owner is the parent owner, and the permissions and access to that record is shared. It inherits it from the parent.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And can't have its own.
Right.
And if the parent is ever eliminated, so if you delete an opportunity that has children, all of the children will disappear as well.
That's good to know.
The other thing to consider is if those cloned opportunities of those child records that Pat is talking about, if those need to filter up into forecast, I don't think that will happen with that being a child record.
And that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. It's like they're just using it. Yeah, it's an odd situation, but it's good. That's good for me to research and try to think of something here. Okay, thank you.
And as long as they're only cloning an opportunity to make that child record, or whatever the click button is called,
Right.
I'm just thinking about anything else that would be the native behavior that you would lose by going the child route, and just so that you consider that. So, but it doesn't sound like that might even be an issue.
Yeah, the alternative would be to create a custom field that's simply a unique identifier for each I mean, it could be auto-populated or something. Just needs to be a second unique identifier for that opportunity, so that it gets cloned into the other one, into any new records that get cloned from it. That identifier would go with it. Then you could create a trigger on the opportunity so that when certain fields are changed, it looks out and finds other opportunities that have that same unique identifier and updates those.
Right. Okay. Do you know if there's any articles I could relate to, or anything that might help me educate myself?
So I would, well, two things that you need to do. Do you know how to create a custom field?
Yes.
Okay, so create a custom field on your opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to need to do a trailhead on triggers.
Okay.
You'll need to write a trigger, or it could be actually you could use Process Builder for that.
Yeah, I would use Process Builder. Yeah.
I'd use Process Builder that looks for that fires when an opportunity is updated. You won't need it for create. It'll just need to be for update. And you will define the condition around whichever field changes. And then you'll have that process look up. See, Process Builder can look up on the same object other records that have that same unique identifier or a key. Let's call it a key.
Right.
Right. And then plug in the value from the original into the clones.
Got it. That's helpful. Thank you.
Sure. So what Jackie was, I mean, I thought of that because of what Jackie was saying. Really, when you clone something, it's going to copy everything in that record, and you're going to need some way other than the record ID to link them, because the record ID will be unique in the clones, and you just need something, this key, so that you can look and find all of those records to update them. So that's what that unique field will be.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
And by the way, that should be read only. Don't let anybody change that.
Read only. Okay.
Otherwise, that would break the linkage between them.
And one other thing, when you're doing this, create it in your sandbox until you.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
You're testing. All right. All right. Good. Thank you, Pat. Appreciate that. Hope that gets you to where you need to be, Chris. And Joshua has a question here in the chat. In Lightning, there's not a comment field, and wanted to know the best way to go about creating one on the contact record. When you say a comment field, are you just referring to a text field? And Joshua, I'm going to go see if I can unmute you so you can. Joshua, you're unmuted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so we are a financial services firm, and we are looking to create a comment field for our advisors as well as our BD team who deal with customers on a consistent basis. And there's not an easy way to for them to leave a comment with a timestamp. And so we want to make it so that it's visible not just on the PC, but also on their mobile.
So you want a comment added that's actually date and time stamped, so you know when that comment was added?
Exactly. So that in case our service team or customer service is looking at it as well, we have a history of our communication with that person.
And do you want to keep a history of all of the comments if comments are made over days, weeks, months?
Absolutely.
So that you have that entire.
Absolutely.
And you want that on the contact?
Yeah, we do a lot of work out of the contact record.
Eons ago, now this is not in Lightning though, but eons ago I created something similar in that when a field was changed, they wanted to know who changed it, when it was changed, and they wanted a running history of it, but they didn't want it line itemed in the contact history, let's say. They wanted it in a text box. So I created basically a concatenate copy paste idea. And and that worked because that kept all of their history. Now the question is, you're saying that you can't create a text field in Lightning?
Well, we can, but it's a workaround from what I've read about it. And I was just wondering if there was a more seamless way of doing it.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
got.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Pat. I would create a child object of contact called contact comments or whatever. You create a child object, and then each record is simply a text field that is the comment itself. And each record, when it's created, will be timestamped, just the actual, the record create date. Then on your layout for contacts, you just need to actually it will show up as a child object. It'll show up as related. So that object, the child object, let's call it the comments object,
Okay.
will be a child object of contact, and it will have inherently a look. The way you make it a child object is by creating a parent-child lookup to the, or not a lookup, but a parent-child link to that contact. And so when you go to that contact record, you would go to the Relateds tab, and you would see a list of probably it would show you the last 2 or 3 comments, and they tend to be sorted in reverse chronology. So you'll see the most recent first, and that'll also give you the chance to click on that link and go to see all of the comments.
That's perfect.
Yeah, so you just need a child object of contact.
That is exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
Sure.
Awesome.
All right, Bruno's got his hand raised. Bruno, I'm going to unmute you.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Great, thanks, Jackie. First of all, I just want to thank everyone, thank the MVPs. I joined this call quite a bit. I find it very useful. And it's inspired me to, I was a volunteer yesterday at the Toronto World Tour as an expert. So I love the ideas that are presented here and sharing knowledge. So thank you.
Great.
My question today actually has to do with some data security. So we've got an org, it's been humming along well, a lot of different countries and such. And now the request has been to create a new user that deals with international data, but not have that user see any US and Canadian data. But still within the same org, so all the reports that can be used and so forth, but to separate everything. So based on my research, it looks like the best thing to do is obviously turn the model into a private model, sharing model, and then either possibly use public groups to open it up and identify, countries that are within one region versus the other. And I'm just wondering if that's the right way to go about doing this, or if I'll run into any gotchas, or the better option being perhaps enterprise territory management.
My first thought would be, can you not achieve it with roles?
If we
Making
did,
it right
yeah.
default private and then achieving it with roles.
So as soon as something comes in that is not within Canada, US, then assign it to a user and then just basically keeping it that way separate.
Well, when you're with your roles, so your role hierarchy, you can set up based on, you kind of think of it as a organizational chart, but it's a data chart.
Yep, no, I get the role hierarchy,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So if you can create a role hierarchy that shows everybody within the Canada group, everybody within the US group, and it makes sense, then you wouldn't have to manage sharing rules. It would happen automatically.
I think there's 2 lines of business that they separate as it is right now. And the idea is what they want to do is kind of say, but still US, and that person international gets everything that, like among those 2 groups. So I'm not 100% sure it would work just with that.
Yeah.
I thought he'd need to be high up in the hierarchy, but just use, yeah. I don't know, it's a little bit confusing and I'm working through a few things. I'm just wondering if there's any.
I haven't used territory management, but I use sharing rules all the time using groups.
Okay, I'll give that a shot.
If you group it based on role, anytime you add, or if you group it based on profile, anytime you drop somebody in there, It'll automatically honor that,
Mhm.
as opposed to by individual user.
Right, which you'd have to do in groups, right?
But
Okay.
if you do the group, yeah, because you can do the group based on roles or profiles. Hold on one second. Let me just pop in there.
I thought you could do it with roles or groups. I didn't know you can do it by profile.
I might be misspeaking. Pat, correct me. Or Jared, are you on the line? Let me flip back to Classic. They've abandoned me. Let's see here.
Sorry, I was muted. I'm sorry, I was distracted. I was chatting with Joshua Moore. What was the question?
Public groups.
Yep.
Roles and profiles, or just roles? I'm trying to get in there in Lightning, and I'm a little bit slow right now.
Or sharing rules, yeah.
Sharing roles.
Don't know.
I
Okay.
think it's
Roles.
just roles. Yeah, I think it's just roles
It is
in
just
public
roles.
groups.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's roles or yeah, and then obviously users, but yeah, just roles. Roles and subordinates as well.
Yeah. Okay, Jackie, I can give it a shot with what you've said and try and work through that.
All right.
Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? I don't see any hands raised, so, or any other questions in the group chat.
One thing I might add to a previous question about the cloning, I didn't hear the entire conversation. I was distracted as well, but I used a tool called SuperClone Pro, and it kind of came short on a few things, and I emailed the developer, and he had made the adjustments that I needed, and it's a fantastic tool. So if you're looking for something to kind of take it beyond and clone everything that's related, you know, if you're doing contact roles and a whole bunch of other custom objects that might be related to the opportunity, for example, and you're trying to clone it, it's a great tool. Can take
On the App Exchange?
It is on the App Exchange, and I think with the new features that I've asked him to include, it's probably not up to date just yet, but it will be shortly. So I'm just shouting out because I thought that's a great tool.
Thank you for that. And I love when our App Exchange partners listen to all of our recommendations.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, who's next?
Well, Jackie, let me just do a quick poll of those on the call here.
Sure.
I'm curious, how many people are using in-app notifications in Lightning? If anyone is, or depending on them.
Does silence mean nobody's using them?
Joshua asks the question, which I had as well. So in-app notifications, according to the documentation, which is pretty thin on it, basically it allows when you are, if you're a user and you got your browser open and you're on a page, it's maintaining an open streaming API channel so that if you get mentioned in a chat or comment, that pops up on your browser before you refresh. I don't know if in-app notifications go beyond communities. That's kind of what I'm polling for is if anybody's using them, how are you using them? And the reason I ask is it uses the streaming API channel. There's only one streaming API channel available. And if you need to use that streaming API channel for anything else, you have to go into setup and turn off in-app notifications. The application that I've built uses streaming API, so it requires people to turn off in-app notifications, and I don't know if that's a deal breaker for anybody.
Melissa says not yet, just getting one department into Lightning as of July 1st. Sounds good though.
Oh no, it's terrible. You should use my app instead. Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't want to make people choose between using in-app notifications for whatever, and my application, which is a SMS texting client for Lightning. It's just a Lightning component that lets you text with your customers and leads and users.
All right, anything else you want to ask the group?
Nope.
Okay, great, thank you. Rob Kaplan says, wanted to highlight that conditional highlighting in dashboards is now available in Lightning Summer 18. Hooray! All right. Any other questions or topics? Anything that you've seen coming down the pipeline? We've got a big group today. You guys have got to have questions.
It looks like we got one in the chat from Joshua on dashboard displaying campaign results in Lightning, best practice around that. Where's my marketing gurus?
Dashboard displaying campaign results in Lightning. I don't know if that is available yet. Yes, give us more context, please, Joshua.
Okay, am I unmuted?
No, I can hear you.
Okay. So we're looking at being able to have a dashboard that gives business development reps and their managers, obviously, an idea of when emails have been opened. We are using Pardot as well. And they want to be able to see when emails are opened and how many people who are using the information that they're receiving, like on a drip campaign, for example.
I am doing a quick Google search.
I know in Classic there was a way to kind of do this, but in Lightning it's a little bit different.
Oh, this is dated that I'm reading right here. Hold on. I have a link somewhere. See how handy it is for things that are available and things that are coming down the pipeline for Lightning. Where is that? Joshua, do you have that handy?
I'm sorry, do I have what?
I'm sorry, Jared. I used the wrong J name. Jared, do you have that handy? The roadmap for Lightning?
Yeah, let me hold up.
Oh, maybe it's here. My list of Salesforce quick links is really, really long, which sort of defeats the purpose. That's additions. If anybody else can get to this faster, please share it.
So I thought I had it handy.
I have it in the presentation, so if I can't find it now, I'll go grab it out of the presentation and I'll drop it into the chat when we post this recording.
Here's what I found. Okay, here's the one I had. This is like, since yeah, winter 18 was the last time it was updated. I just posted it in the chat.
Great. There we go. So here we go. We've got dashboards. I think there's another link that I have too that shows everything in Lightning now. Yeah, I'll dig that one out too because actually I think it was a Trailhead link. I'll dig that one out too for you guys. All right. Sorry that we cannot actually answer your question, but maybe we can find resources that will get you to the answer that you're looking for, Joshua. All right, who else has a question? Great, Melissa. Let me unmute you. There you go, you got the floor.
Hi, I was actually just working on something right before this call, and I figured I can go ahead and ask instead of just searching for it myself. I added some fields to the user object, and I need to see them in an account report. The account report is just using the standard account report type. I cannot do a lookup field to add them to that. It's just not possible. And when I do account with user report type, I've tried a couple different ones. I'm not able to get them to include everything I need. So I guess I'm just wondering how to do that.
Is the information that you're looking for, the user information, is it the user who owns the account?
No, we've added targets for sales. I know that's kind of a weird way to do it.
When you added the new fields, did you check the box that said make available for search and reports?
I have no idea.
That's the first thing I checked.
Well, I do know that they can be pulled up. If I do a user report, they can't be pulled up there. And they can be pulled up in other report types. So yes, I must have done that.
And where are they?
It's not that those particular fields aren't showing up. It's that when I do a report, like for example, I have a report that I want them to be added to, and I can't add them to that using a lookup field in the report type. And I can't create a new report type with the account and user objects that is just based off of the account. It has to be like account created by, account owner, account something. And so it's not letting me do what I need for the report that I'm trying to run. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I haven't worked in reports for a while, so.
I think I would need to see it.
Yeah, best advice, if it were me, I would go to Trailhead and do the unit on reports again.
Okay, and I don't think that's going to help me with this. It's much higher than what is done in the Trailhead.
Are you saying that, so on the account, you can't get to look up related fields based on whatever the lookup was to get you back to the user data?
No, I can get to those fields. It's
okay.
I guess I'd have to show it so that you could understand it. I did a report type showing the account created by, so that I could get all the fields I needed. But then for some reason, my report doesn't have the created by, and the account owner is the same person, and so it won't work. I don't know, it's kind of complicated.
Would you like to share your screen? I want to make sure you're not sharing any data that you shouldn't be sharing.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't.
Okay. If this is something that you want to grab screenshots of and put into community, we can take a look at it. Or better yet, put it on answers, and then you'll get the entire globe chiming in.
Okay. If I can't figure it out today or Monday, I'll probably do that.
Okay. Yep, okay. That's your best resource,
thank you.
something like that. But be prepared, you're going to need to put screenshots.
Sure, no problem.
Okay. All right, anybody else have a question? We've got about 10 minutes left. I don't see anything else in chat.
Wondering if anybody else has had a chance to look at the summer 18 preview.
Still on my list.
Okay, I spun up an organization, an enterprise org to test my app on, and immediately spotted an issue. So I reported that. Just wondering if anybody else has had issues with it.
Haven't played with it yet.
It's a cute new animated GIF logo. Cody's going scuba diving.
Nice. Joshua's got a question. Has anyone used the Box Salesforce integration?
Is this the Box 3 from Silicon Valley?
I don't know. Joshua, go ahead. And
Sorry, that's a joke.
oh, it was locked on me.
Sorry, referring to the HBO show Silicon Valley.
Oh,
No, I'm talking about the Box Salesforce integration with, it's like the not Dropdown, the Dropbox company. It's similar to Dropbox, but they do a few more things that are, like, for example, with content management system as well. But I'm curious if anyone's using it yet and how they're using it.
haven't had an opportunity. And I'm trying, somebody was talking about Box not too long ago.
I was at Pandora recently, about a year ago, and when I was working with the account, the account person at Box, they were showing me a lot of the different functionality and how to seamlessly transfer leads or contacts, etc., from spreadsheets to Salesforce itself using Box. And then basically it's a really seamless, way of doing things. But we didn't really have an opportunity to really put it into place. And I was wondering if anyone had any best practices or anyone might have used it at all, but it didn't seem like that.
Are you saying that this would take the place of like a data loader or data loader IO?
Exactly. And I mean, it looked amazing the way that they were able to do it.
I guess if I were going to look at something like that, I would start asking questions around security and data integrity. I'm sure that they'll have those answers, but that's what I would start making sure that the data that comes in through there, that Salesforce is still going to honor all of your automation, lead assignment, all of that kind of stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
And see if they'll give you a test account that you can use with your sandbox so that you can test all kinds of scenarios, make sure your validations are honored.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I would imagine it would be, but it's worth testing and asking. And by doing those tests, you always come up with other questions of your own too.
Absolutely.
Rob says, repeat the solution name. It's Box integrated with Salesforce. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, you can actually, if you just, Box is a huge application. It's actually in the App Store, the App Exchange, for Salesforce. And they have a complete native solution for it.
Let me see if I can find it and I'll grab it, share it with everyone.
Is Box online cloud storage like Dropbox?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they've definitely changed their service to be, it covers the gamut in terms of business processes and for storage, for content management solutions.
It seems like storage is the entree, and then suddenly they're adding collaboration tools and competing with Office 360 and
Exactly.
yeah.
Okay, let's see here. I thought I saw something. Oh yeah, Carlos says he's playing with Summer 18 every day. He lives in Florida, so it's summer for him all the time.
No, it's not.
Well, January. That's Florida has 2 seasons, January and hot.
Yeah, well, right now it's 90.
See? Hot.
Hot, yeah. Yeah, I've been playing with, I mean, every time that somebody, you know, I had one of those GS0 orgs, and there's a couple things that they were available right there on the very first week, and now I just can't find them anymore. For instance, if you go, you have you like an account page, and you click on the pull down, and you see the option like edit object and page, and then there was an option to really do the page as in classic, like where you pick up all the fields in there. That was available for the very first week. I don't see it anymore. I don't know if there's a setup for that, but I just don't see it. The same thing is in a couple places you could see, when you pull down in there, you see setup, and you would see service setup. I saw that before, haven't seen anymore. So since this thing is like, you know, there's no guarantee that they're going to be delivered or not, I wonder how are people doing. Somebody posts something on Twitter today about having the badges. You have a component called badges that you can put in there, and his screen would show the service setup. I couldn't find on mine, so I posted on Twitter, what's the deal with this service setup showing up on the pull down? It's like a user interface, is an option there, I couldn't find.
I haven't played with
Yeah, but there's a lot of nice things in there. I mean, you know, pick it and choose. I mean, subfolders now. I don't know how many levels you can have. That can be a blessing. That can be a curse. Where I work, we have 25,000 users, and every single one wants to have their own folders. So imagine that. So subfolders for reports and subfolders for dashboards.
What does that, Carlos, what does that mean when you deactivate a user license and they have all those personal folders and all of that? Does that still eat up our storage, our data storage?
That's a good question. We face that all the time. The thing is that, yeah, that's the problem when you have a folder, either for or reports or for a dashboard that you assign, like I think it's like you assign the running user as the manager of that. I don't recall now because I haven't seen in a while, but what happens, that person leaves the firm and they deactivate that, and then people stop seeing the proper reports in there. So what we have done is like we freeze that user and do a research to find out what it is, so people can still see the data, and then we have to assign that report or dashboard to somebody else. But your question is an interesting one, and I don't have the answer.
Does anyone on the line have a best practice that they're following right now for managing? Because it would apply to Classic as well. So when people leave,
oh yeah,
you just deactivate it and go on with your business, or do you go through a process where you delete their personal reports?
Well, I have seen a solution that I think it works when they have a user. They create a profile specific for that, for activations, like in field service lightning. It's mandatory that you have one specific license to do optimization, scheduling optimization. Okay, that's like a dummy profile that you gotta have in there. You take a license, but you gotta have that, so that to make like a transparent. So what I have seen in some places, and I know that in PwC, there's somewhere doing that, where they have a profile, specific profile or user, I would say a user, that is like a dummy one that is like the running user for some reports or to do some batch jobs or Apex or whatever. So that way, you know, it's not a real person that gets fired or they have the profile deactivated, it's no longer in there, and all of a sudden things start to break.
All right. Give us something to think about. I don't mean to cut you off, Carlos, but we are at 3 o'clock, and we're at the end of our time, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
It was great having everybody on the call today. Good discussion, some new questions, things that we haven't been getting. So great job, everyone. Thank you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend.
Thank you.
You too.
Yeah.